Hi everybody, I'm Philip Duncan. Thank you for joining us. Well, I've got good news and I've got bad news. I'm going to kick off with the good news for you. We have an incoming high pressure system from the Aussie area. Now it's going to come through and bulldoze away the windy weather that we saw around New Zealand across Tuesday. That gets pushed out to sea. The wet weather that's also affecting, was affecting Great Barrier Island early this morning, also now being pushed further away as this high comes in, which means we've got a pretty calm Thursday on the way. Still that wind and rain just out to the east. It's been blocked by this big high further out to the east. There's a small area of low pressure that's also forming around the Gisborne area. So we're likely to see a little bit of shower activity just around there. Most other places on Thursday though are calm and dry. There might still be a few cloudy areas and can't rule out an isolated shower or two, but across most of New Zealand it is looking calm and dry on Thursday with the high centred well up to the north, right over the top of Norfolk Island. Now we get back to the bad news. We still have a lot of spring weather coming our way, and by that I mean windy, especially from the westerly quarter, and passing fronts. We are not out of the woods yet. So while New Zealand is going to go through a bit of a drying trend over the next couple of weeks, you may not notice it if you live on the western side of the North Island. There's still a lot of rain coming in the forecast. Now there is a little bit of good news. The rainfall totals are starting to drop a little bit, but we're still getting a number of fronts coming through. So I'm sorry to say the next week or so, still not perfect, but there is still in this next week or two a drying trend kicking in across other parts of the country. So this western area here may not be quite so lucky, but eastern areas and perhaps even some further to the north may well be noticing just slightly more drier weather than wetter weather amongst all of this rubbish that's coming through. So as you can see, it's still a bit unsettled for Friday, a little bit of a low pressure system tracking through a few showers or an early morning front across New Zealand. But then later on into Friday, things start to dry out. On Saturday, dry up here in the north and fairly dry around Auckland as well. Still the risk of a shower, but those shower risks become higher the further south you go. And as you can see around the South Island, it's a mixture of dry spells, the odd shower, and a little bit of cloud. So it's not a perfect Saturday, but I've seen worse. Sunday, for example, looks a little worse around the country. More rain coming in along the western side, more showers in the north, and more importantly, look at all those winds. All the isobars indicating a lot of wind coming through. The positive is that if you live on the eastern side, especially of the North Island, it is looking fairly dry for you. And then on Monday of next week, again, it still looks pretty unsettled around the country. A lot of showers blowing through, a lot of wind. Look at all the isobars there. So this is showery, windy, very normal spring weather. But I got to tell you, there is one more positive, one more bit of good news. That high that you see out there, way out near Sydney, there's a lot of high pressure building around Australia as we kick off October, and it's shifting further south. And the further south it goes, the more likely it is to come in towards us. So we're at the peak of spring now. The next few weeks are going to be typically windy and unsettled, but there is still some good news coming, and that should be high pressure coming from Australia. So we'll certainly keep an eye on it, and we'll let you know when we've got more good news rather than bad news, because I think we all need some of it. That's all from me for now. We'll update you again tomorrow with the very latest.